And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of unprotected talk, borders, language, culture. And here he is, Michael Savage.
Blue Monday, how are you, Blue Monday? Got to work like a slave all day. Here come Tuesday.
Yes, it's Michael Savage, not taking the day off, not rushing it into another 12-day vacation. Welcome to the program. I am an American and I work. And I know many people like to take this weekend and wrap off Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and a Monday. I don't get it. Doesn't anyone want to work anymore? So what am I going to talk about? There's so much to talk about that I'll go slow, because many of you are not ready to talk about much. You're still getting over the tryptophan from the turkey and the family and the drinking and the eating and the fact that you have very little to look forward to now except maybe a day off in Christmas and then a long, long haul until another vacation. It's hard working when you work for a living. Now, if you're on welfare, every day is the same to you. It's a golden day. The government sends the checks. They come like clockwork. You can claim you're a victim because you're not getting enough from the government. What could be better? So over the weekend, let's see some high points. I won't bore you with the Thanksgiving dinner. I put some pictures up of Teddy eating at the restaurant with us on my Facebook page. You know, it was funny. Teddy, thanks God he wasn't born a turkey. I used that line before, but it's still true. Believe me, he's glad he was that species rather than the other one. And let's see, I caught a cold in the restaurant because there was no heater on with my back to the wall. Do you ever go to a restaurant and eat with your gloves on? I mean, I like the restaurant. I'll go there for the next 25 years if I'm still around. No heat in the room. I had to wear gloves and a scarf to eat Thanksgiving dinner. Well, it was sort of like a pilgrim dinner in that regard. It was so cold I felt like I was a pilgrim. The only thing missing were the arrows coming in from the window. So I watched a boxing match over the weekend, the heavyweight title fight between Klitschko and this guy. You got to believe this. Even if you're not a boxing fan, you got to listen to this story. The new champion is 6'9". He's part Irish, part they call themselves travelers, part gypsy. Now, I never heard of the man. He's awesome. I love this guy. And they hate him. All of the liberal newspapers hate this guy, Tyson Fury. They're calling him a Bible-thumping bigot and a homophobe. You hear this? Can you believe we live in a world where the guy wins the heavyweight championship and the best they can do at the New York Post under Murdoch Jr. is call him a bigot because listen to this, he wins the fight against Klitschko, who was an embarrassment. Klitschko's this big Ukrainian fighter who I've idolized for years. He's an embarrassment to the boxing profession. He didn't even lift his hands to fight back. He tried to, I don't want to go into the details of it. Klitschko's a big guy. He's like 6'5", and he's always looked down on fighters and been able to pound them from above. Well, now he faces a 6'9", 280-pound giant, Tyson Fury. And this guy, well, I'll tell you more about it in a minute. After he wins, he gives a speech. It's traditional. And he thanks his Lord Jesus Christ for the victory. That's number one. Now, remember, the fight took place in Dusseldorf, Germany. This is at a time when the Muslims are on a warpath around the world, especially in the East German, Merkel's Germany. They're on a warpath. Everyone's afraid to say that they're Christian, not him. The guy gets up after he wins, Tyson Fury, and he says, I want to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. He says it maybe 5 times. And then on and on and on he goes. And to top it off, he picks up the microphone. I never saw this in my life. And he says, I want to sing a song to my lovely wife. And he breaks into a rock song to his wife who is in the ring. I've never seen anything like this guy. He's 280 pounds. He's 6'9" or 7 feet tall. And he was born as a 1-pound infant. Did you know that? He was born 3 months premature at 1 pound. Doctors feared he wouldn't survive, but his father had no doubt. John Fury told the Mirror before Tyson Fury dethroned Vladimir Klitschko in a 12-round decision in Germany. He said this, he said, I told them God was looking down on him. I said he'll be all right. He will be 7 feet, 280 pounds, and heavyweight champion of the world, and I named him Tyson after Mike Tyson. Well, he's 6'9", he weighs 250 pounds, and he's now heavyweight champion of the world because Klitschko didn't even lift his hands. It was an embarrassment. But this guy, this Fury, is of Irish gypsy heritage, and he comes from a bloodline of bare-knuckle champions on both sides of his family. Fury said, I'm proud of what I am. The traveler background gives you the will to win before anything else you learn to fight. When we have a dispute, we sort it out with our fists. Listen to this. I mean, this guy is so on PC. It's amazing. Wait, it gets even better. That's why they hate him in the New York Post. He says he has his unusual upbringing and devout Christian faith to thank for his success. But critics have said his controversial views make him a bad role model. Now, what has he said that's bad? You decide for yourself if he's a bad role model. He says there are only 3 things that need to be accomplished before the devil comes home. One of them is homosexuality being legal in countries. One of them is abortion, and the other one's pedophilia. Mr. Fury told the Daily Mail earlier this month. Who would have thought that in the 50s and 60s, who would have thought in the 50s and 60s, he said, that those first 2 would be legalized? Well, those are controversial views. They get even more controversial. Are you ready for these? Tyson Fury, the new heavyweight champion, went on. He said, a woman is there to be loved, cook food, and have some kids. Like Muslims have their ways, we have ours. There are girls who open their legs to every Tom, Dick, and Harry. They're looked upon as rubbish. If I had a sister who did that, I'd hang her, Fury said. Now, you realize that this kind of rhetoric can't be allowed in Obama's America. Fury said he modeled his career on the man he was named after, the baddest man on the planet. And on and on. If you want to read more about him and see his picture, it's on michaelsavage.com. I enjoyed the fight thoroughly. I loved it. So I went on YouTube and I looked up Tyson Fury, by the way. There was an earlier fight against a smaller guy, a black guy. I never heard of him or that guy. And I saw trash talk before the fight that was unbelievable. He says to the other guy, he says, I was born fighting. He says, you're nothing. He says, I can beat you in the ring. I can beat you out of the ring. He said, I come from 8 generations of bare-knuckle fighters. He says, I'll crush you in the ring. Well, in the second round, the black guy knocked him on his behind. It was amazing to see the look on his face. He went down like a ton of bricks. But he got up and beat him in the 10th round. But the point is, you got to watch some of this guy to see what we now have leading the boxing world. It's a whole new world. It's a whole new world of those, for those of you who don't even like boxing. And that's a sort of non-political story of what I enjoyed the most over the weekend. I must say I caught a cold. And while my family flew up to Lake Tahoe, I missed that flight because I couldn't take the pressure and I didn't want to give my granddaughter a cold, so I missed out on that one. I was alone all weekend with the dog. But, hey, what are you going to do? The dog is pretty good. As a man I met over the weekend said to me, they are our unsung heroes. They sure are, and they give us the love that the rest of us, well, can't find in the world around us. It's a pretty cold world out there. Don't blame Obama for that. He's just a symptom of it, not the cause of it, obviously. But the clown is in Europe right now, talking about climate as the greatest threat to the survival of mankind. He gets more clownish by the day. It's astounding to listen to this clown as he speaks about climate being a graver threat to our survival than ISIS. It's astounding how brainwashed these people really are. Now, you have to hear this guy's speech. It was so awful. We'll play a piece of it now and again, but I want to tell you what happened. Obama spoke at this climate talk filled with the world's gangsters, see if they can rip off the rich countries and steal money off the top and send some of it down to the poorer countries so the leaders of the poorer countries can rip the money off and buy yachts and travel around and do what they do with their money. And, of course, no one will benefit from it but the leadership. So he gives a speech, and there's a wrap-it-up beeping that occurs to all the speakers. You know, at the Oscars, there's a wrap-it-up music. When you speak a certain amount of time, you get a 3-minute slot, and that's it, where you outline your vision for the future of the planet. So this loudmouth of ours, this thing full of hot air, went on and on and on for 8.5 minutes into the address, and he couldn't stop shooting his mouth off, emitting foul gases. So you hear 3 beeps sounding across the auditorium. Everyone heard it around the world except the loudmouth from Honolulu, Barry, that is. Listen to one of the sounds and listen to how he goes on. Listen.
Here in Paris, let's reaffirm our commitment that resources will be there for countries willing to do their part to skip the dirty phase of development. And I recognize this will not be easy. It will take a commitment to innovation and the capital to continue driving down the cost of clean energy.
All right, well, you get the picture.
Here.
He wouldn't shut up. He's such a foul egotist. The beeps went on every 30 seconds, but the deranged president kept plowing on. He continued and he said, one of the enemies that we'll be fighting at this conference is cynicism, the notion we can't do anything about climate change. And he went on undeterred by the regular interruptions over his lying speech. He went on to talk about a world that is worthy of our children. Well, after 11 minutes, whoever was manning the beep button that gave up on him, and no more prompts were heard until the egomaniac ended his epic discourse just shy of 14 minutes. Now listen to this. By the time the egomaniac was done, he had spoken for nearly the length of time set aside for 4 world leaders. If all 147 speakers had taken as long as the deranged Obama, their combined addresses would have lasted more than 33 hours. And now you want to know the rest of the story? You'll get it right here on the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
My Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com. It's the only company I trust to protect my wealth. Call 800-BUICO. I think it's over. That era is over. I know the music's still out there. I mean, I've gone to a few local places over the years, but it's a different universe. Go out in the Mission District here in San Francisco, there's some good music for sure, but I don't know, maybe the music itself is not as good. Some of the guys are astounding musicians. Why am I talking about that instead of Obama? Why not? I already gave you Klitschko's fall and the rise of the Gypsy Giant. No calls. I didn't do this one yet. It's ISIS versus Christ in the world, by the way. Has anyone put it to you that way? Did you know it's ISIS versus Christ? I'll make it as simple as I can for the, this is called Politics for Dummies. It's ISIS versus Christ. Now throw in the Jews as if you want us to, because they'd like to kill every Jew on the planet. And by the way, they say so. It's in their holy book. They hold up the holy book as they try to bomb a Jewish center or a Jewish clinic or bomb a Christian church. Oh, it's in their holy book, all right. It's ISIS versus Christ. But don't ask the dunce in Paris who's telling you climate's a bigger threat. You got to ask yourself, which side is the dunce on? So I talked about that. There's another story. I'm not ready for it yet. It's too complicated for the average person listening to the show. And I know it. I can do it. I saw an article this morning, back in the USSR, how today's Russia is like the Soviet era. So that's a hit piece on Russia. They all hate Putin. The American dunces who hate America. In other words, the entire press corps. I'm talking about Tapwater, Blitzer, idiots like that. The official government press in the United States is ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, and by the way, Fox News. You can throw Fox News into the mix of the official government press. Why do I say it? I just saw a poll on climate change on the Fox News channel. I looked carefully. It said, do you think the United States should sign the climate treaty? 66% say yes. They're quoting a CBS poll. Now, why would Fox News quote a CBS New York Times poll unless they're part and parcel of the same establishment mentality? Answer is they wouldn't, because they are. So now you can put an X through Fox News. Yes, okay, I know they don't like me. I know I'm not allowed on the station, but it's not sour grapes. It's so apparent to me that since Murdoch Jr. took over, this place has become uninhabitable for conservatives. The only thing, well, okay, let's stop right there. I'll stay on a good track. I'll stay on a positive track. So the poll is false. CBS New York Times poll? You're kidding me. So all the media in America hates Putin, even though he's now revered by most people in the world, for the only one with the guts to take on ISIS, because Barry from Honolulu, this thin, smoking, hostile man in the White House, is so jealous, or shall I say envious, of Putin's strength, resolve, and also because they're on the opposite sides of this issue. Let me tell you something. If you study world events the way I do every day of my life since I'm 18, your president is backing ISIS, which is why he hates Putin. There's no other way to... I'll cut to the chase. Obama is backing ISIS. I mean...